Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and I'm with Paul David Carpenter, formerly of LA. Now he's in New Orleans, and he's having fun. Hey, Dick, Paul, let's tell the audience a little bit
Oh,
about yourself.
well, hello everybody. My name is Paul Carpenter. I am a magician, hypnotist, a neuro-linguistic programming coach, and I travel around the world and do my best to make people happy and engage them in finding what they want to do with their lives and reaching those goals.
Awesome. You know, and
I do my best.
I met Paul in LA on the Walk of Shame. I mean, the Walk of Fame. And he was
Right.
he was doing his little act and swallowing balloons and throwing cards and doing some rope tricks and it was very entertaining. And I was amazed at how many people that go through that Hollywood juncture there, you know, will sit there and be entertained by street people like yourself. And, you know, you give it back just as much as they give it to you. I mean, not money-wise, but attitude sometimes.
Yeah, it's the whole concept of doing street in itself, to me, has been the experience of creating moments, and I mean like a full moment, a one where you go into the middle of the street, nobody expects you to be there, nobody bought your ticket, and you have suddenly 30, 100 people, maybe sometimes 200 people that stop and watch a full 30-minute act. And that in itself is this, and I don't know if I told you about it, I've been writing a seminar that's based on the ideas of street performing and using them for just general life, coming across on so many different aspects of sometimes we overthink street performing, because when we see it as an entertainer, or even as a bystander or somebody watching as the audience, we see a show, a full packaged show doing something, somebody doing it on the street. And when trying to do it, I remember going out to the street and I would have 15 different tricks, and I was trying to do every trick out of the box, and then I realized over the years of doing it that it was 3 tricks, 30 minutes, that's it. And it's that simple, right? And it's the same thing in business, right? Sometimes we come into business or we come into anything in life and we overwhelm ourselves with this mountain peak conceptual idea of what we have to be at the top of the game. And I'm like, wait, hold on. I say this to my clients a lot. I'm like, I love your mountain. I love your mountain, but we need to first take the first step. And what is that first step? What can you do right now, today, in your community that creates that dream and goal for you? And that's the same thing as street performing. From going from just a street performing to performing for the likes of Kiss Cruise and performing for 1,500 people, or being invited to Australia for 3 months and performing in different theaters that are, 5,000 people. It was mind-blowing to me at 30 years old to get to do all these things. But that all started from me giving away a free performance at a library in Houston, Texas, and then me promoting it on PR Web and calling every newspaper and every radio station and every station myself, and because the thing I became finally, and I got a Channel 11 News, and they gave me 4 segments in the morning starting from 6 a.m. to like 9 a.m., which you couldn't pay for that kind of advertising if you think about it, I mean, I'm in Houston and I'm getting knocked every single time to like 40,000 homes at a time. I mean, of course, my show was packed to the brim. Everybody showed up, and then I gave away 4 classes, which were an hour long every weekend after that. And I set it all up with the library. It took no time whatsoever. They were super ecstatic that somebody wanted to hang out with kids and teach them. And I had a website that showed that I knew what I was doing. And oh, that was easy.
Yeah, but it all started.
And
It all started when you stopped being all things to all people and focused on those three things.
yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. And I think that's, I think that was kind of the conversation we were having before we started. And that's, yeah, the idea of choice, intention, and what's this other one? I just sent it to a friend of mine the other day. I don't want to lose it now. I always say that in life you get these gifts, right? And so the first gift is that you get this choice. You get to choose what kind of person you want to be. And then your intentions are what push that choice in whichever direction you want, right? And then the last piece, I can't believe I'm losing it. Well, it'll come to me. It doesn't matter. Sorry. But the idea, yeah, that you're always looking to leave the legacy in the best manner you can. And I don't necessarily believe, and I've said this repeatedly recently, I don't necessarily believe that it's the way you look. I think it's the information that you leave behind. And I've said this also, I believe that the internet is a huge reservoir for information for people to come back and look at. Mm-hmm. And going on another little tangent, who knows if we're not already a simulation of a simulation? Who knows? Like, Elon Musk has gone on that and a bunch, and I've been really digging deep in that rabbit hole on the YouTube channels as of lately, and thinking about that whole conceptual idea. But when it comes down to it, in the end, is positive or negative conscious moments. Because what is consciousness? We don't know, right? So that thing right there is what matters. Whether you're having positive moments or negative moments, and whether those positive moments for you are reacting in positive moments for others. Because you could say, sexual predator could be saying, I'm having a positive moment here, but is that really reflecting positive moments around? And if it's not, then you know that you're not having an actual positive moment. So, yeah, I think, that's where it leads.
Now, we were also talking about, videos, and I do a video every single day for, my show, What's Trending on Facebook. And I put out some other videos, and you've been doing your series on now I lost it. Thank you very much.
Well, I think and Go Rich is what I started. Right. Yeah. So when we met, right, and we've met before. So I to the people who are watching, Rob and I have known each other now, I think, a couple of years, right? And I think you started following me, or I followed you on social media because I just enjoyed each other's thing.
And then we met in LA,
right?
February of this year.
Right, and I was at that personal time in my life. I was at a very low place, and this is where I was talking about choice. When it comes down to choice, you can either choose to wallow, or you can choose to struggle. But either one of those things are going to be painful. Neither one of them are easy. And life in any way, shape, or form, like for the guy who gets everything in his life and was like sitting on in the back, like he's eating and he's just hanging out, there's a part of him that is completely unhappy because he's not doing something for himself, something for others, right? So yeah, when I was in LA, I was in a very low place, and even though I've been a real astute studier of the information of Think and Grow Rich, of psycho-cybernetics, of all of it, since the age of 12 and 13, life I say that life is like a water slide, and at the beginning of life, you're either one of two kids. You're either the kid who's scared of getting on the slide, and you'll get on the slide, you'll sit down, and the water will start pushing you, and then all of a sudden you'll start grabbing onto the side of the slide, and you'll be there for minutes holding on, screaming, and you lose all of this energy that you need for the slide. So the slide sucks at that point for a good period of time based on the fear that you were holding on to. And then there's the other kind where you just jump on and you start sliding and you start to understand that there's two things you can do in life. You can either allow the water to push you and push you against the rails and this, that, and the other, or you can learn to use your appendages or your skill sets and slide with life. So when you see a turn coming, you can put your hand down and push the water on one level so that it doesn't hurt you so much when you hit that slide. You're able to get into the turn and maybe even gain some speed. And so that analogy to me just is amazing because life itself to me is like water. It's this never-ending push behind you that even when you do nothing, it's pushing. And even when you do something, it's pushing. And it doesn't matter whether you push or you don't push. It's going to push itself. So the best manner, in my opinion, at this point is, listen, find something that you can do to push that gives you the oomph to want to do something. It doesn't matter what it is. Even if it's just a video once a day on YouTube or Facebook where you're inspiring other people, or at least you hope that you're inspiring people. And I'm blessed to have an awesome community who writes to me and actually tells me, like, hey, man, today you said this, that, the other, and then it becomes a long, letter to me about all this that they're dealing with, that we're in the realm of something that I just came out, and literally was just a hair out of my, or I was watching a video and something had touched me emotionally, and I was like, I want to talk about that. And then I'll just go to YouTube and start, or Facebook or whatever, and just start, what's the word for it? There's two words where you're not thinking, but it's talking. It's like stream of consciousness. And it's just that. I like to connect on that with people on whatever we're talking about. So I want to be as informed as possible on every subject that there is out there. I guess, and that's on some level to be able to relate to almost anyone, anywhere. I think that's probably also what it is. And I think also on another level, and here's trippy and a little messed up, but I think that the reason that I've put myself through as many trials and tribulations for myself, like being homeless in New York for 30 days and writing about it every day on my blog with no pictures, or being homeless, for instance, in LA after things didn't go right with different projects that I was hoping that would go well. I think that in the end, I've gone through all of this. Just recently, here's random, I got randomly shot in the hip so that I could just add that, I guess, onto my tacked on list of things that when someone comes to me and says, well, I've been shot, I can go, well, yeah, so have I. Or, well, I've done this, and I can go, well, damn it, so have I. And guess what? I'm still trying to help you, which means you can still try and help yourself, and you can help someone else. And that's that beauty of knowing that even a kid who's like, well, I'm going away from home. You don't know what it's like, or yeah, I do. You don't know what it's like to be, you're blue-eyed. I'm like, yeah, but I'm also Hispanic and a Jew, So I promise you, there's something that you're going to deal with that I've either put myself through, or my life was already there by my forefathers that I had no control over. How many different ways I've overcome those things. Go ahead. Sorry.
When you're homeless, though, how do you survive? Because there's a lot of people out there that would, to be honest, they would rather commit suicide than be homeless. And that's a shame.
Right.
It's that mentality, I think, that of they've failed so bad they don't want to be homeless.
Right. So in my case, it's a weird thing, right? Because somewhere along the way, after this beautiful thing that I did when I was 28 years old, and I had this very concise ideology of what I wanted and where I wanted to go and what my future was going to be and what things I was going to get out of it, right? And I achieved that in about a 2-year period. So at 30, I had been featured in Ripley's Believe It or Not, 2 world records, had my own off-Broadway show, got to do my own DVD, and was doing shows repeatedly at $1,500 a piece. And so I achieved that from 28 to 30, like that. I mean, literally in a 6-month period, I just decided. So that was very cool. Then around that same period, my father passed away. And my father was a Green Beret, Special Forces, 101st Airborne Division, magna cum laude from Fordham University, 32nd degree Freemason, ended up in a state ward-funded hospital with nothing, his family barely visiting it, and didn't even get to do the bunker, burn the mortgage of the house and say, I did something American. I did, right? I did the deed. I was the American. I did everything I was supposed to do. Now I should get to burn my thing and tell everybody to go F themselves because I can close my house and it's my house, right? That's the American ideal. I work hard for my own stuff. The guy worked like a boss for 20, 30 years straight and ended up with nothing, like so many baby boomers in the generation that we're living right now. Plan for their retirement that had no concept of it really, and really don't understand the money world. You know what I mean? And so that's a sad thing to me that I'm a 40-year-old guy. I get it, but I really don't want to have much to do with it because I get it. And so at 30, I was very heartbroken that my father left the planet this way after working so hard, after wanting nothing but a family, kids and a white picket fence, 2.5, the whole thing. And my uncle, at the same time, who had never had children, worked for a global corporation, Hewlett Packard, for 33 years. And 2 years before his pension, they screw him on his 401k. He has to work for another 7 years, create his own business. I mean, just like, and they're telling me, go to school, get a job, go to college, do what everybody else does so that I can end up worse, most likely, than the situations that both of you were in? Sorry. I'd rather hit the streets. And so, for a 10-year period, and you can see it, it's really crazy. I went from having a really big box. It was a Husky box that you buy from Home Depot that had that plus a duffel bag plus a suitcase, and that was like my life for a good 8, 9, 10 years, right? And I mean, I did everything. I went all over the planet. I went all over Australia. I went over New York. I went into Israel. I traveled all over Europe. I got to do my lecture on hypnosis and NLP. I mean, the amount of stories, the amount of information, the amount of people that I've met, the amount of people that I've touched. I have one story that's amazing. I was in London in the subway, in the tubes, and I meet this girl from India who was having a bad day, and I'm always cheery. Even if it's homeless, I don't know. I just believe in myself, and I believe in this other thing that everything's going to be okay, no matter what, right? Even in my worst situations, even when I'm in a insane asylum, forgive me, and it happened. So even when that happened, I'm still ballsy enough to go live on Facebook while the police are trying to put me into a psych ward. So there's something there. There's a chutzpah, as they say in Judaism, a ballsiness that says, F you to the world, almost. That says, screw your ideals, your rules and your regulations of what you are supposed to be. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not selling drugs. I'm not selling children. I'm not cutting anybody. I'm just living my life dynamically, you know? And so why does that have to hurt someone? But it hurts because there's this matrix, if you will, that's built around us in this Western ideological world that tells us you're not good enough, you need to have this, you need to buy this, you need to this, that, and the other, which kind of goes against the ideals of community. Instead, it goes into these ideals of, me, and scarcity. There's not enough for anybody else, so I have to have the biggest house for 2 people. You know what I'm saying? And unlike yourself, Rob, which is what I love about you, you know, You have an amazing business with tons of people that work for you. That, people don't notice about you, but you keep it very quiet. But you have a very big business behind you. You have a lot of people that you do business for. And yet you drive a used car. You lived in the same house for years. It's very much the Think and Grow Rich Napoleon Hill 20 years after the fact. When he comes back and he goes, look, I sold my houses. Look, I did I sold all the crap. I don't need it. I have the same car now for 10 years. I'm okay. Because in the end, it's about becoming okay with ourselves. And it took a long time, Rob. It took a really, really long time for me to run around the planet 100 times, go in and out of this, that, and the other, ayahuasca trips and the DMT and the drugs and the women and the everything, to finally come to a place where I was just like, dude, you're okay. You're actually okay, dude. You're like people like you, dude. Stop it. Stop it. You don't need to run. There's no reason to run. Just be you. And if you want to be a person who's on the internet, it's okay. Be that guy. But be that guy with as much passion, as much direction, as much awesomeness as you can put together, and learn how to make other people feel your passion through the camera. And if you can do that, that's it. You even if you hit one person, I'm always about just one person. Just one person. I don't care,
In the same respect, though, you have to learn how to not listen to the haters. Because there's always going to be someone who doesn't like what you do, who's going to say mean things about you, and it's going to affect you if you allow it to.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a video about this. It's so funny that you're mentioning this, because I did a video about this about 2 or 3 days ago. And I said, because I was talking to somebody else prior to doing the video, and I was talking to him about how he has somebody on his shoulder. And I always say, don't let anybody piss in your Kool-Aid, because you already have the best Kool-Aid that's been ever made. And the only time that your Kool-Aid doesn't taste good is when you've allowed somebody on your shoulder to tell you that your Kool-Aid doesn't taste good. And then all of a sudden you start to listen to that person and go, right, you're right, my Kool-Aid sucks. And the only way out of that is to create another character over here. And this character is going to create even another character and maybe even another character. And that crew is going to go to the other side of your shoulder and kick the crap out of that guy. And the only way to get these guys is through affirmations, through books, and through people. And those guys are easy to overcome any one of these things over here. And the fourth one, by the way, over here is doing for others. As soon as you start doing for others, you're done. That's it. You start to feel better. It's the opposite of thoughts, feelings, moods, and actions. It's actions, moods, feelings, thoughts. So if you're depressed, take the opposite direction instead of, if you're okay, then what can you do? It's a simple process, right? We overwhelm it sometimes because we have, I believe it's expectations of ourselves, of the world, and you're not in the place of gratitude when you're doing that. Right. You're in a place of, and the sad thing is, Rob, all the things that I'm saying are all the things you said to me when we were in LA on the street with your son. And I kept repeating to you, I'm so sorry that you're seeing me like this, like that guy, because that's not me. The guy that I am, this awesome character is this guy, who wants to share, who wants to build, who wants nothing but the greatness of every single person around me, even my haters. I want my haters to even get in there and get better at their hating. And that's, and I'll say that it's true because I've even promoted some of my haters. I don't know if you remember this, but I did a thing called Dump on Trump, where I went to a plumbing company. They gave me an actual toilet. I put it together. I went to the Star Walk of Fame, pulled my pants down, and I had a towel. I put a towel over my underwear. I never actually pulled my whole pants down, but it looked good on camera. And I did Dump on Trump. Right, so this is such a great video for you and your fans, for all the people who watched. Who is this guy? And so my point was that when I did this, it went viral. It went to, I think it got about 100,000 hits on Live Leak. with about 1,000 different comments of how I'm a vile piece of non-American scum, right? But some of these guys went really far as taking screenshots of me and putting poop on top of my head, like, you know, the little poop emoji. And like my sign said hashtag up on Trump, so they changed it to hashtag you suck balls. I mean, this is talent, you know. I mean, this is somebody who went out of their way to get to a Photoshop to take a picture of me. He took at least 5 minutes of his time. That's 5 minutes that he gave to me that he didn't need to give, you know, to something as ridiculous as a guy sitting on a toilet on a star. Not even the person. You know, not even, come on. I'm sitting, come on.
That's the trick right there, is that, you know, I may not agree with the whole Trump thing, but
right.
The thing is that you got people to take action against you that they had to devote time to do so, and they could have just gone about their business and, you know, played ball or watched TV or done, but no, you got them to be creative and express their hatred in a different way.
Yeah, I had one guy sent me an executive order with Trump. And it says something like, Paul Carpenter, you're officially fired, Donald Trump or something. I was like, yes, this is so good. You can't beat these, you know? Like, that's the kind of stuff where it's like, oh, these are great. I made a video. I don't know if you've heard of this guy. His name is Charlie Zelenoff. Now, Charlie Zelenoff promotes himself on the internet as being the greatest fighter of all time, with a win factor of 200 and something wins to like 5 losses. Please Google him. You will laugh like crazy. Now, he has, on both sides, he has created this crazy world around him where he will walk up to people at a gym and be like, hey, you want to spar with me? And then people are like, yeah, I guess. So, all right, we're going to spar, okay? And so he puts on his gloves, and then he gets the other person to put on the gloves. And before that guy's even ready to go, dude, he just starts laying in on him as hard as he can. Until the person says he stops. He goes, I win. And he goes to the camera and he goes, yo, number one. Now, mind you, there's video after video. There's documentaries about this kid. Rob, if that's not genius in marketing, I don't know what is. Okay? Now, I went to LA, and while I was in LA, I said to myself, Charlie Zelenoff, I know where you live. Why? Because 1, you posted it on the internet. 2, you showed everybody your house. And 3, I'm coming over. So I showed up to the guy's house. He didn't want to be on camera, and I understood that. He looked like crap. He had missing teeth. He looked like he was smoking meth or something. He looked really bad. And so at that point, I once talking to him, and I have some study in, like, you know, I'm not certified as a psychologist or anything like that, but by talking to him and by seeing his mannerisms, I was pretty well understood that the guy has a very deep mental issue, right? And so I then make a video and I say, listen, I just met Charlie, and the truth is, I feel bad for the guy, because when you really get to know who he is and you meet him, he's obviously a person with a lot of issues and a lot of problems. And granted, we all have issues and problems, but our cups are not all the same size. And so if you know anything about this guy, the better thing to do than to blow him up and to go out there and talk about how crazy he is and how you want to beat his ass and how he's the worst in the world, why don't you promote what he really is, which is a person who has a mental issue, who needs help, proper help, and needs the real adoration from people around him that will give him the ability to know that what he's doing isn't correct, instead of this other way of treating it. And man, let me tell you, I've gotten hundreds of response from that one video where people are like, what are you? You must want to have sex with him. You must love Charlie Zelenoff and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, what? How do you go from, wow, I feel bad for the guy, he's got issues and problems, to now I want you to have, sodomy with me or something? I don't, it just doesn't relate to me. Anyway, but that's the internet, you know. I mean, that's look. I did another video that was talking about. I went to a Pink Floyd concert and how I got a free ticket to Pink Floyd because I made another video on how to get free tickets to concerts. If you don't have a concert, day of, show up, put your finger in the air and say you want a free ticket. Somebody will offer you a free ticket. It happens no matter what. It's like it's a weird thing. Because the way I do is the math is this. How many times you and your family always say, oh, let's all go and, oh, yeah, Judy wants to come. Okay, we'll get Judy your ticket. Judy calls you last minute, says I can't come. And then you're walking into the stadium and you're looking around going, what do we do with this? And there's police, and you don't want to get caught selling a ticket. You feel bad. And then some kid's out there going, you ticket. And you go, hey, kid. It happens more times than anybody would believe. You know, and so the probability is just there. Anyways, I did it for David Blaine. I went live for 1 hour prior to the show, and literally 5 minutes before, a police officer from New Orleans Police Department walked up to me and gave me the ticket. She goes, hey, somebody had an extra ticket. Here you go. I was like, no effing way. And I just ran right in, fifth row to David Blaine, which was like a $700 ticket for free. So, I mean, the point is that there's a couple of different ways to do that, right? In my mind, I think, one, you have to really believe that it's going to happen, and two, just have the balls to go out there and ask for a free ticket. That's it, you know? And I think that that's the same thing in life, and it's the same thing for the whole kind of conversation we've been talking about. It's having the audacity to believe in yourself, having the audacity to believe that 30, 100, 200 people are going to stop in the middle of the street to listen to you. And just that alone makes it a reality. Mm-hmm. So it comes down to what is consciousness, what is the thing that we're living in, right? We were talking about layers of realities. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you believe is what you perceive. Done. It's done.
So you've been in New Orleans now for a couple months. What's a good place to see if I'm visiting?
Oh, so many places. But my favorite that I love to tell people about because it's a very hidden gem and not even like locals know about it is inside Washington Square Park. There is the church. So if you're like, here's the main street, and like right back here is Cafe Du Monde. This is Decatur. Here's the park. Here's the church. Right to the right of the church is a place called Muriel's. And if you ask them to meet Leopold the Ghost, they will take you to this little back alley that used to be where the horse carriages came in, which is now where the staircase is, but it's very cool either way. And you can now, you can go there and you can actually ask to eat with Leopold. He has his own table, which they put a little piece of bread and wine every day so he doesn't get upset. And then if you go up the stairs, there's this very cool, like, Roman monkey sounding music as you go up the stairs, very eerie. And then there's a room with all these pillows and couches. And then to the right of that, there's a mysterious coffin sarcophagus room. And it's super weird. And the music that they play in there is really eerie and just super trippy. And when you walk in there, you just feel like, oh, God, something's going on. Even though you know there's nothing going on. But just being there. And they have an amazing turtle soup. For a cup of turtle soup for $8, for the quarter, which if you're a tourist, $8 is kind of cheap. It's nice. It's a good atmosphere. It's very and they don't care if you walk in there with shorts. You go to the bar, sit down, enjoy the atmosphere, go upstairs, and if you're sneaky enough, which you really don't have to be, you can go to the back wall, and there's a door that opens up to the balcony, and the whole entire balcony opens up to the French Quarter and to the park. And you can have that entire balcony to yourself because nobody ever goes up there. I mean, I'm talking like out of 20 years of being here, I've maybe seen 20 people up there. I was going to say 12 to 20 people in my entire life upstairs. And it's the best place to go. So
you prefer New Orleans, but you hang out in LA sometimes too.
Yeah, you know, when you said I'm from LA or from here or there, I don't consider myself from anywhere really, Rob, because for the last 10 years, I think I've only had 2 apartments. And so this including one of them, and the other one was in Las Vegas, which was for about a 7 or 8 month period. And then I had my own hotel room in Biloxi, Mississippi for 2 years when I worked for MGM. And I was doing like 8 shows a week for them. So when so I never really have my own house or apartment because I'm always somewhere, either A, living in someone's house because, hey, I got an extra room, I'm in town, yeah, go ahead, I don't care, Paul, stay as long as you want. And I think people kind of understand my lifestyle after a while, especially because of social media and me being as boisterous and loud and crazy as I am on social media.
I haven't noticed.
What's that?
I said I haven't noticed.
No, yeah, who, right? The guy who, what are you talking about? And so I think that people just kind of, I think there's two things that happens, right? There's one thing that is like, people are kind of in awe of the train wreck of my life, right? They're like, oh, dude, this guy's life is a train wreck. But at the same time, they're like, bro, how does he do it? Every single time he hits his head, every single time he hits the ground, he gets back up, and he gets back on video. He's like, it's okay. Everything's all right. Wow, let's go. We're going for another ride. And people are like, how the hell do you do that? And the only thing that I could say, honestly, is that something inside of me, and this is a long time ago, it happened when I was 6 years old. My mom said to me, don't go outside. Don't go out the front door. And so for like 4, 5, 6 days, I remember I saw the door, and I went outside the front door one day. And I remember this like vividly. There was an old Spanish brick pattern with these metal pieces as I walked towards it. And then I'd take a right, and I would take a left. So there's like a little walkway. And there were these lava stones, the pumice rocks, that in the 70s they were real popular to put out in front of your house, like a dark brown, reddish color. And there were 3 of them that were just perfectly enough for me to go 1, 2, and 3 and literally perch myself as a 6-year-old on the top of the 3rd stone, and without anybody ever defining it to me or telling me, placing myself with my fingers in such a manner and putting myself in a lotus position and starting to meditate. And at this moment, hand to whatever you want to call it, a drop of water hit me on my crown of my head, and a vibrational watery feeling traveled through my entire body. And at that time, I heard a voice that said, my son, don't ever worry. I will always protect you and take care of you. And something happened that I never didn't believe in that. And I don't know what that was or who that is, or maybe that was me. Maybe I just believed in myself as a 6-year-old really hard. I don't know what to tell you, man. But that gave me this, once again, this audacity to believe in myself. This thing that just was like, oh, you mean I'm carte blanche? Oh, cool. Oh, this is going to be fun, And that's all that it's been for me. In anything that I've done, I never really put any kind of barriers behind it. If I want to be a singer, I'm a singer. And not only that, I've got a band. And not only that, I'm recording music. And not only that, I'm winning awards. And I want to be a magician, okay? Not only that, I'm winning awards. Not only that, I'm performing. I want to be a director. Okay, I'm an actor as well, and I'm writing the script, and I'm using, $50,000 worth of equipment. Done, let's do it. And we're all just ideas without any I don't want to say excuses. It's ideas without any barriers.
Or restrictions.
Or restrictions, right. Because I don't allow myself to have them. If I don't have the thing, I find a way to get it. And like, for instance, for instance, I have no, I didn't have any editing equipment as of recently, right? Now I have this full setup and iMac Mini and 2 screens and a great setup to do editing, right? And I got that in like a 3 it's that simple to me. I don't know how to make it any hard. But why make it harder? It just, what do you want? You want milk? Go to the cow. You just go to the cow, man. I don't know. Oh, okay. Like, I don't know. Are you there? Can you hear me? Yeah. I don't know any other way other than that. Like, if you don't know, I don't, like, let's say I want to make a movie right now, and I'm a nobody. I have no connections whatsoever. I'm in New Orleans, kind of central movie place right now, but I don't have any connections. So I would go personally to a school that teaches movies and say to them, I need a team of students that want to work for free, that want hours to make my movie. And I bet you money, if I go to a board somewhere at UNO and I put that up and I post up that I have a thing that I want to make a movie and I have the script and I have the actors and I just need the team, bro, I promise you somebody will show up and do it for free. Why? Because I learned something when I was 18, 19 years old from an Italian mobster character who never kept his money in his wallet. He always kept his money in his left pocket. And he said to me, there's always another 18-year-old. And at the time, I didn't get it. Right? I was like, what do you mean? What does that mean? And what it means is that we always refresh. There's always another fresh batch of kids that don't understand, that don't know, that want to bless you. You know, there's always a fresh batch of people that don't know, that want to learn, that need something new. Just like you are doing right now, Rob, with all of the books that you've been publishing as of lately. The last one that you published, the media one for marketing and stuff in the new age for people who are just now, baby boomers and all the way younger. I think is the title, something to that effect. And I'm like, yeah, more experience necessary. I think that the title is amazing, first of all. And it's just it's exactly, yeah, and that copywriting handbook was great. Yeah. So, so pushy. I love it, yeah. And they're all exactly what we're talking about. And this idea that the future is not going to be people working. We're either consumers or creators. That's the future. The future is either consumers or creators. And the best way to be is to be a creator that's a consumer. So create, make your own foundation of information, get other people to buy into that, and then you go out and buy other people's information that they're creating instead of buying from the corporate media world, and do that blockchain kind of mentality to the world, because that's sort of kind of what we need to do.
So we're running out of time, but yeah. I want to give my fans, friends, followers, stalkers an opportunity to be able to stalk you back.
Sure.
How do they get a hold of you?
So easiest way on every social network that there is at mentally HYP. So that's, I mean, literally you can name it. I'm on it. From LinkedIn down to, yeah, mentally hip. And that's also my website, mentallyhyp.com. The tag phrase for me is, I believe we all mentally hypnotize ourselves. It creates our perception. So just believe that you're mentally hip. And so that's it, for me. And then if you want to see my new YouTube stuff, it's just youtube.com/Paul David Carpenter. And that's more of the newer stuff, the Thinking Grow Rich series. And sometimes it's also repeats of it's on Facebook Live. So depending on whether I think it's a really good episode or not. And I've been thinking of backlogging everything on the YouTube, yes. So, which might take me a minute.
Backlog everything.
Yeah.
Well, that's it, folks. Thanks for watching. And
thank you for having me.
Make sure that you connect with Paul. Your brain will explode, but you'll learn a great deal of stuff.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Rob.